That's better. So my goal was to get my garage workshop more organized, because more organized equals more productive, and being more productive means I can get more projects done quicker. I'll give you a quick tour of it before we dive into the detailed step-by-step of build out. Now I still have to live with it for a little while and get a feel for where everything's at. I may decide that I want to rearrange things. Starting at the bottom, these casters can support 300 pounds each. I wanted to be able to move the cabinet around if I ever needed to, so the wheels were a must. Next is this sturdy 2x4 frame that supports all the weight of the cabinet and the contents. Okay, this is the coolest part though. When the doors open up, you can push them into the cabinet about 2/3 of the way. And the reason I did this was because I didn't want the doors protruding out into the garage workspace while I've got the doors open. Of course, I'll leave it open most of the time because I'm in and out of here grabbing tools or screws or whatever. And I wanted to be able to walk past it without running into the doors or having the doors eating up my small garage workspace. So what made this all possible is that the doors are on a sliding pocket door hinge system. It's not like the pocket doors you would find inside your house in the construction of the walls, but it's a cabinet pocket door system. I also built in a drawer for added storage and convenience. Of course, it's always nice to put small stuff in there to help stay organized. So added a drawer. So the assembly and installation of the door hinges, the pocket door slides, was pretty easy. You pretty much build your door like you typically would, and the hinges just attach to the hardware, and the hardware is on drawer slides. Of course, you'll see the detailed installation of those pocket door slides, and you'll be able to see the hardware towards the end of the video in the build out section. So you may have noticed the unusual shelf system that I've got. I made it out of a 2x2 construction. The shelves are about 1/2 inch ply, and then I put some 1/4 inch underlayment on some of the sides. And the reason for that is because of the pocket door slides. I couldn't have a traditional shelf system that goes all the way to the edges, of course, because the doors slide in there. And I did make this fully removable. Right now it's just attached with a couple screws to keep it kind of sturdy, but this whole thing can slide out in case I need to make adjustments to the door hinges. Okay, by far one of my favorite parts about this storage cabinet is, of course, this tool storage hanger. I've always wanted one of these. I've always wanted to build one of these, and it's so nice to have a place to hang your power tools. You can easily see them and grab them and know if one of them's missing, all that good stuff. And then, of course, in addition to that, having a place for your battery chargers that are up, out of the way, tucked away nice and neat. The cables are ran through the back of the cabinet, so all I've got to do is plug in an extension cord on the back side and then pop in the battery whenever it's ready to charge. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and consider subscribing. My future plans for the cabinet are to add a few hangers to the back side where I can hang some weird, long and skinny things that I've got around, like this, a bow saw, stuff like that, maybe a level. I'll just put some hooks on the back of the cabinet so I can hang this type of stuff. If you have any suggestions for the storage cabinet, maybe like a box for the screws or something like that, please let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate that. I read all the ideas and I take them into consideration, and they're very helpful. I began by cutting down 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood that will be used for the main body of the storage cabinet. I glued and screwed the large side pieces to the base, top, and back of the cabinet. I recommend pre-drilling and countersinking your screws to prevent splitting the plywood. I didn't do this at first, but later adopted this practice. You'll see later in the video, don't worry. Once the main body was assembled, I began creating a sturdy base. I laminated a couple 2x4s for the sides and added a center support. Next up was to attach some casters and make this thing mobile. Once I gave the base a good testing, I slid the cabinet body onto the base. At this point, it weighed almost as much as 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood, so I was careful to maneuver it. Ahem! I countersunk and attached the body of the base, then applied a nice coating of water-based sealer. Now for one of the many fun parts was assembling and attaching the door hardware. This gave it that awesome pocket door feature. The instructions said to mount the slides right at the top and bottom, but I ended up moving them later. Once that was out of the way, I was able to start building the doors. Before I measure out the stile length, first I'm going to cut the very end off the boards. Usually it's kind of rough sawn or chipped up, so I'm going to cut it and just start with a nice clean edge. So now I'm measuring out the stile length. The rails ended up being 16 3/4 inches long, or wide. Well, after laying out the rails and stiles, basically the door frame, I decided it looks like it needs one more in the center, one more rail in the center just to kind of support the door so it doesn't flex or sag too much over time. Thankfully, I scoured the scrap wood pile and I had a piece from probably 5 years ago that I'm finally able to use now. Before I routed the stiles, I marked where the rails are going to go. That way I don't route a channel all the way through the end of the board. I leave the full width of the board where the two boards meet, because I might end up doing pocket screws. I just mark where the rails attach to the stiles, and that way when I'm routing the channel, I'll stop right there. I routed a channel in all the door pieces to hold a piece of 1/4 inch underlayment that makes up the center panel of the door. The door frame is held together with pocket holes, glues, and screws. This is a common theme throughout this build. It's so nice when the centerpiece fits in the frame on the first try. So where the instructions originally called for the slides and hinges to be mounted, as you can see, the hinge would be like really close to the edge, and that just seems kind of odd to me. Plus, I've got this new tool, not sponsored by Craig stuff at all. I just decided to pick it up because last time I installed these hinges, I used a router and it worked, but it wasn't ideal. So I've got one of those hinge jigs that I'm going to try out, and I'm pretty sure it's got to be kind of away from the edge at least a little bit. So I decided to subtract about 6 inches off this support board that runs between the two slides, and that should move this down about 3 inches on both ends, and hopefully It just makes more sense to me. So I'm just gonna go with that route and we'll see what happens. Ready. Let's see the damage. Not too bad. Here you can see the new position of the pocket door slides, which are about 5 inches from the top and bottom of the door. Nothing. Have you even DIY'd if you haven't had to run your doors through the table saw? They were touching slightly where they close and meet in the middle. So I just cut the edge off of the doors. Hopefully that helps with the clearance issue. Whenever I mounted the hinges, I followed the instructions, but I probably should have measured a little more carefully and mounted them a little bit further in on the doors. That way the doors will sit closer to the edge of the cabinet. There's kind of a big gap there. It's okay for what it is, you know, just a garage storage cabinet. But if it was something indoors, I'd probably drill new holes and fill the old holes for the hinges and redo the hinge part. Now I'm just going to test fit it before I sand the edge and see if it fits. Okay, moment of truth, here we go. Yep, it fits. So we are back at it today to finally start work on the inside shelves. It's already getting filled up with a bunch of stuff. Because I went with these weird door hinges and slides, I can't make the shelves go all the way to the edges. So there's essentially going to be an inner shelf system within the storage cabinet. Here we go. I ripped down 2x4s to make 2x2 pieces for the frame. More pocket holes, screws, and glue were used in the making of this cabinet. If you guys make a similar cabinet, triple measure for this inner frame piece and give yourself extra clearance for the doors. I know because I made mine 3 times. The 3rd time, it ended up fitting. Moment of truth here. I'm gonna move, choking on a acai seed from a smoothie. Moment of truth here. I'm gonna move the frame into the cabinet and hope that it fits. I still need to add some more supports to kind of stiffen it up and make sure it's not gonna go anywhere, but this is just a test fit before I get too far. Oh, that's tight. Snug. It's tight, but I think it will slide in there eventually. Maybe I'll grind a little off the edge. A little update for you. I finished putting together the inner frame and I slid it in there, but it's a little too deep, so the doors won't even shut now. So I'm going to try to pull it apart, I guess, and shorten it a little bit and try it again. kidding me? Oh, one more time. As you can see, I was in desperate need of a garage organization solution. I laid out all the tools to plan for the tool hanger and shelving. Then I got distracted by the door handles. Here I'm cutting down the pieces that will make up the tool hanger. I believe they were 3 inches wide and 3 inches tall. I carefully spaced them to be able to hold the tools at the base of their handles. Well, we're getting closer to the end and we're on to the fun parts. Now that the second shelf is in, I can hang the battery chargers up there. I'll probably add a drawer right here. That's what these drawer slides are for. But I'm going to build out a drawer, chargers, a couple little odds and ends to finish it up. Surge protector I'll probably put on the back side to plug the chargers into. And yeah, it's just a fun part, buttoning everything up, organizing everything. I still need to empty out my other tool carts and I'll be able to move all the woodworking stuff to this cabinet. I experimented on this drawer's construction by using glue and nails instead of pocket screws. I'll see how it holds up over the years. I was sure to attach the face to the sides of the drawers. That way you're not applying pressure that pulls the door apart each time you open and close it. I trimmed out the sides of the frame with plywood and underlayment and began loading it up. Just like so many other projects, this one ended up taking way longer than originally planned, but I stuck with it and it feels great to have accomplished this build. I'm very happy that I can start organizing my workspace now. Thank you again for watching. I've got a few other projects lined up, so be sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on those.